and welcome to another episode of Tesseract Talks, the place where we put the spotlight on tech trends, startups, and VCs. I'm your host, Marko, the founder and CEO of Tesseract Analytics, and it is my pleasure today to have Balazs Scheidler as our guest, the CEO and co-founder at Axoflow, the platform that helps security teams escape the burden of endless pipeline babysitting. Balazs, welcome. How are you?
Very good, thank you. And thanks for inviting me and having me on the show.
Great. And so to start off, could you walk us through your career journey and what led to you then founding Axoflow?
Yeah, so first of all, I am an entrepreneur, and my very first job was my very first startup in 2000, which I founded right at the gate of the university. So I never worked anywhere else but my own startups. And one of my favorite open source projects that I created was a log management product called syslog-ng that I actually started during my university years in 1998, which has been used for enterprise log management projects in the last 27 years now. And yeah, so once I sold that startup in 2018, I spent some time in, angel investments, being on the board of various startups, and then eventually I saw a lot of issues and problems around log management, and that led me to found Axoflow to solve them all.
And in simple terms for the audience, what does Axoflow do and what problem are you solving?
So Axoflow is a automated data layer for security operations. That's how we sum it up, but it basically makes sure that data is properly collected, transformed, enriched, and then delivered to a security operations center, which is basically a data-driven process. So that's what we do.
And what gap in the market made you decide that it was the right time to build Axoflow?
So I mentioned syslog-ng, which is an open source log management project, because that's what I would call it these days. So we have had log management for a long time now, and we had security operations centers being built by large enterprise organizations for 15, 20 years now. And when you were building that process, you need data, right? And you either use the log management or data collection facilities of your SIEM, so a security incident and event management system, or you use an external log management tool like syslog-ng, or nowadays you start using with a telemetry pipeline. But all of these solutions, either the bundled features of a SIEM or a log management system, they are all manual. And I started in my summary that we are an automated data layer for security operations. And automated here means a number of things, but we make sure that you don't have to work or create your rules yourself manually for every different application and data source in your stack. But we can help you with that burden and automate that away, so you don't have to.
And how is your approach different from existing observability and log management tools?
Yeah, so normally when you start using a tool like this, what you have to do is, consider your data sources, learn a bit about them, make sure you have the appropriate rules to either only store security relevant data in your SIEM, or make sure that you don't store too much redundant data in your SIEM, because that all takes money in terms of license costs and also storage costs. But this is an inherently manual process. So the major difference between Axoflow and other tools is that it comes with data intelligence bundled into the product. So we are responsible for anything data related and not you. And for any off-the-shelf commercial product, you can have an out-of-the-box experience where data is smaller and also of better quality, because the usual manual collection process is in a lot of cases, lacks meta information that you need for proper analytics. And it also lacks information that makes security analytics easier. And at the end of the day, you will have a lot of data that is difficult to use. So Axoflow, simply by being more automated and simply by coming with this intelligence out of the box, it makes this a much easier and better process. At the end of the day, that impacts your security operations, making detections easier and more reliable.
Great. And can you share a customer story or a case study that shows the value Axoflow brings?
Yeah, so Normally, I mean, this is an industrial company that we helped in the last year, to fix their security data issues, and we could easily reduce. So they had three major applications. I mean, the three biggest producers of security data was Palo Alto, Windows, workstations and servers, and Zscaler. That was responsible for something like 70% of their total intake or ingest every day in their SIEM. And in total, we could reduce that around 47, 50%. It obviously depends on the data mixture, but once you start looking at the top talkers, understanding the data, what you use and what you don't use, it's relatively easy to get to these kind of benefits, like reducing the amount by 50% or even more, depending on how much energy you are willing to spend. But again, automation helps here, helps again, because the product already gives you, around this number out of the box, and you just continue on top of it, you can get to much, much higher reductions, if that makes sense. So there was this organization, again, an industrial company, who suffered a breach a few years before. So they spent a lot of effort and money on building their security operations. And we made it very, very easy to onboard new data sources, new locations, new devices. Again, they didn't have to work on it manually. So that's how we could help them.
And what trends are you seeing in how SOCs and CISOs handle security data pipelines these days?
Yeah, so I think there's a big shift in how we organize security operations. I mentioned that I had this open source log management product, and I also mentioned that these organizations started building their SOC or security operation processes, 10, 15, 20 years ago even. And then the best practice was to collect all the data and then do something with it. And when telemetry pipelines came about, the primary motivation has been, cost reduction or volume reduction of data. But I think we need to take a more strategic approach, because it's not just about volume reduction. So yes, obviously, spending less helps, but we are also suffering from alert fatigue in the SOC. We have too many alerts. They're not really reliable. Sometimes they're false. In most cases, they're false positives. In other cases, we just have too many of them, and we want to fix that. And I think security operations is primarily a data-driven process. And where you should start is the foundation. Once you fix the data, it becomes much more reliable. The telemetry pipeline, I think the primary role of the telemetry pipeline is not about volume reduction. Obviously, that helps sweeten the deal, but the real impact is that you will have a much more reliable security operations at the end. So less alerts, less false positives, easier to act on incident reports and things like that.
Great. And looking ahead, what's your vision for Axoflow and the future of this space?
Like I mentioned, we are doubling down on the data quality. We are doubling down on impacting security operations as a whole, because we believe that data is the primary driver of the quality of security operations. So that's what we are going to do.
Well, sounds exciting. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Balazs, for coming to the show and sharing these valuable insights. That was all for today. I'm looking forward to following how Axoflow will grow in this space, and hope to see you again on another episode of Tesseract Talks in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Marko, for the invite. It was a great pleasure to be here, and great discussion. Thank you.
Great. Bye.